Hey guys, it's Payne. I'm really excited to introduce a brand new show to Bet the Board that combines sports and alternative investing, the very first of its kind. Sports betting and collectibles converging is inevitable. Let me tell you why. Sports cards and memorabilia are another way to get money into the market and do it without limit restrictions or the substantial hold you're accustomed to with sports betting. Whether you collected cards as a kid and are looking to get back into the hobby, this podcast is for you. If you've been collecting cards for years, this podcast will make you think and operate more efficiently. Are you in real estate? The parallels to investing in sports cards and memorabilia are uncanny. You're on Wall Street. Well, listen close. The best sports cards have outperformed the S&P 500 by 6x since 2013. And during the 2008 market crash, sports cards held up better than the S&P 500. Bet the Board, in conjunction with PWCC, presents CardBoard Chat, an entertaining, sophisticated, and informative podcast that combines sports, analytics, betting, cards, and memorabilia. Without further ado, this is CardBoard Chat with Jesse Craig, a leading figure in the collectible space, and me, Payne. Super Bowl week, baby. It's a big one.
Let's go. Yes, big one. And it's kind of an interesting Super Bowl for our space too, because, I don't have a dog in the fight, but for the sake of our market, I gotta root for Mahomes. I just got to.
I like it. I am in a similar boat there. I don't understand the hatred towards Mahomes. I guess it's when you're on top of the throne, you get a couple rocks thrown your direction.
Who's hating on Mahomes?
Oh my God. You're not as in the Twitter sphere as much as I am.
Oh, I hate Twitter, to be frank. I'm not a big Twitter fan.
And I understand last season the brother and the wife were unbearable. But,
sure. But that's not his fault necessarily.
No, everyone seemed to love the cockiness of Joe Burrow, but didn't seem to like Mahomes. So right now, just seems like everyone's lining up on the Eagles at this point. So
interesting.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how this unfolds. We have seen a little bit of movement since you gave out your pick last episode. We initially had the Chiefs open about a 2.5-point favorite at Circa in Las Vegas, one of the sharper shops. Immediately saw some Eagles money come in, and it was basically just the idea of what we saw last. Mahomes looked substantially better than we thought with the high ankle, but still bugging him a little bit. Kelsey had the back, and by the fourth quarter rolling around, Mahomes is completing passes to a guy named Kemp because the receivers were absolutely beaten and battered. So it was like that first instinct, we're just going to number grab the Eagles. Once we got to Chiefs plus 2.5 and even a couple threes out there, those got gobbled by pro bettors. We're now down to Eagles minus 1.5 right now as we talk on Monday.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that the Philly defense is going to get exposed a little bit. So as long as Mahomes can be somewhat mobile, and everyone got 2 weeks to get healthy, I really like the Chiefs, and I honestly would not be shocked to see the Chiefs win by a touchdown or more.
I hope you're right. I will say this, just because I know we have a lot of crossover listeners here and guys that are card guys that don't traditionally bet. Everyone bets the Super Bowl. It's very much a casual event, but I will say this as a precaution. Don't go too nuts, right? Don't bet more than you can afford to lose here. And candidly, like, our core number on this game is Chiefs minus 1.5. You can get plus 1.5. I mean, that's like a 2% edge. So very much most of our betting on this game, I know we talked off air a little bit, will be on props. I mean, there's over 400 unique props to bet. We'll probably have 35, 40, 50 unique props and probably 200 bets in totality. And just kind of as a general rule of thumb, if you're betting props, you want to go over very early, and then you're probably coming back late with some inflation and betting unders. That's typically how the timeline works. So while we usually bet more unders than overs on these props, one specifically that jumped out to us was Miles Sanders, right? We went over 55.5 rush yards on Miles Sanders. That's now out to like 60.5. We had it at 64.5 as our core number there. So about a 14% edge as opposed to like a 2% edge on betting the side. And so if you can fill your portfolio enough with a bunch of props that have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, in this case, 14% edge, you end up with the same amount of money in totality on props than you would on a side.
And are you a national anthem prop better?
It'll sound a little nutty. The answer is yes, and it's all information-based. So what we're going to do is a little bit different than what the casual fan's going to do. And typically what we're seeing in the markets, like last year there was a little bit of an uproar. We managed to get some information before others because my colleague, his agency, represented the performer last year. So we got some good intel there. But eventually, once a couple pro bettors bet this thing, it gets yanked completely off the board. And then sometimes sportsbooks will throw it back up into the market when it's a little bit a better of a number. But what you'll initially see is information will leak. And so this time of the week, you'll have pro bettors get that information once rehearsals start, and it'll get yanked off the board for a couple days, and then they'll throw it back up on game day with a much tighter line.
Makes sense.
Are you a national anthem better?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm not a big better. I usually bet after you and I have had some conversations. I don't have time to do the appropriate research, and I don't like throwing money at something that I have no clue about, right? It's not like I need to bet on a game to enjoy watching it for me.
Your vibes changed a little bit since we've started talking further.
Yes, they have. I don't need the action on the game per se. I do get action on the players through cards.
Yes.
So that's where I can get some action.
I think that's the casual person will think that they're betting against the sports book. And sure, that's the place you bet. That's the place that pays you out your money. But this is very much a market. And you are dabbling in the same market I'm going to be dabbling in, and you're going to be at a disadvantage in that game. So
exactly.
I think once we've had these conversations, your mindset's changed a little bit. But, for the Super Bowl, everyone's betting. It's going to be a fun game. Bet responsibly. But speaking of modern quarterbacks, you are hoping Mahomes wins this to kind of heighten that market a little bit. So I thought this was a very good time to talk about a modern quarterback to invest in ahead of the 2023 NFL season. I'll give you very loose parameters here, right? But if you, Jesse Craig, had to buy one quarterback between, say, now and the end of April that you think could increase 20% before the 2023 season kicks off in September, which quarterback are you going to splash a couple bucks around on?
Well, first things first, whoever I'm buying, I'm waiting 2 months to buy from this point.
Okay.
I want to get removed
April-ish
from the season a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to get removed from the season a little bit more. Still short of the draft, so you're not getting draft hype around it. That I think is probably the best time to buy NFL. I had to do some research on this one because it is not cut and dry. There's a slew of people that are going to look at X, Y, and Z, kind of the obvious choices. And so I want to stay away from that. I want to kind of go under the radar. If we're talking about pure ROI, whose stuff is dirt cheap right now that I think has an opportunity that might get a little bit of hype going into next year based on how the team finished this year and where they ranked. And my guy is Jared Goff.
I like it.
I know. Interesting pick, right? So, look, the reality is Goff's rookie year is 2016. He's 28 years old, but he's not that old. He's still got quite a bit of football left in him. And his stats from this past year, he has some stats that are pretty freaking wild. Top 5 in TDs, top 5 in QBR. He had the best TD to interception ratio for any top 20 quarterback. He's got a ton of weapons. The team finished the season very, very, very strong. And I think they're kind of, Campbell's been building the foundations blocks there for a team. They've been throwing the football a lot more. They still have a great, running back core to help with dump offs with Williams and whatnot. So, and Swift. And I really like where the Lions are headed. I think people root for them because of how much misery they've
the
gone
lovable
through
losers.
Exactly. They're the lovable losers. So I think that people actually might start pulling for Goff and the Lions. I do when I watch them. If they're not playing my Niners, I hope they win. So, there's a slew of other things I looked at, but from a guy whose cards are, basically worth nothing, and how well he played last year and his team's outlook going into the next season, I got my money on Jared Goff.
Goff looked extremely good this season, and there's probably you look at that division. The Minnesota Vikings were very much a fraud this year, substantially worse metrically than the record indicated, and we saw them that unfold by getting bounced out by the Giants. And then, Aaron Rodgers likely moving on. I actually thought about Goff, and to your point, he was very good this season, actually finished the 9th best quarterback in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. The one thing that held me off here was the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. This is a guy I outlined a little bit in our preview series of our NFL podcast last year, saying once he became passing game coordinator during the 2021 season, late in the year, you saw the offense take off. He was then promoted to being OC. People kind of know that he's the guy, and he's been getting some interviews for some head coaching jobs. I don't know if he'll ultimately land one, so I love this if Ben Johnson remains the OC in Detroit.
Stays.
Yep, absolutely.
Got it. Makes sense.
There's a couple guys that are in that same tier, and I feel like I should have maybe went in that direction. I was kicking the tires on Deshaun Watson, but certainly some people are going to gravitate away from him. I'm also not sure of this relationship with Kevin Stefanski, who feels like he's in his potentially make or break season, and his offense is very much, we're going to keep the quarterback under center. That's not Watson. So Stefanski in his make or break year has to be willing to devise his offense to Deshaun Watson's skill set. I'm not sure about that. Thought about a bounce back for Kyler Murray. Not quite sure of the coaching situation there. If it's Mike Kafka, potentially a small buy, but if it's Brian Flores, we've seen how he's operated with a young quarterback in Miami. Didn't love that. And so I ultimately gravitated, and now I'm a little bit regretting this, towards Jordan Love. I don't know if he's going to pan out long term and, play to the first round draft status. Candidly, I haven't really seen anything that's impressed me over his 10 appearances metrically. But the sample size is small. The Packers offense is going to be geared more towards his abilities. I think we have to give the organization that sees him every single day the benefit of the doubt here. And when you extend Aaron Rodgers for 3 years and $150 million, and now you're the one initiating this breakup 12 months later, it tells me the Packers feel comfortable with Jordan Love. So that's the first domino. Aaron Rodgers, at this point in the conversation, is pretty much gone. He either gets traded after being willing to rework his deal, which he said he's open to do, or he retires. Either way, Jordan Love's the overwhelming favorite to be the Packers quarterback next season. If you look at the last few off-season camps and tracked some of the beat writers, they've raved about Jordan Love. There's clearly some tools here. Throws the ball a country mile. He's 6'4". He runs 4.7. He's been in LaFleur's system for 3 years now, and it looks like you have some plus weapons to work with both Christian Watson and you have Romeo Doubs. They both exceeded their baseline for rookie receivers. I think what's interesting here is Jordan Love's market is down roughly 60% since his rookie cards were first produced and sold. They have started to tick up over the last month with this uncertainty surrounding Aaron Rodgers, but you do have this massive brand with the Packers. You look at Jordan Love's last BGS 9 with a 10 auto National Treasures RPA. It sold for a fraction more than a raw Mac Jones did yesterday. So for me, there's no reason why from now until you sell at the beginning of September, you can't play the quick flip game and make 20 to 25% as the hype continues. Aaron Rodgers officially moves on. You get the casual late crowd arriving to the party who starts buying quarterbacks in football in August and September. It just it wouldn't be shocking to see a BGS 910 Jordan Love go from a $3,100 card, which is the last comp, to $3,800 or $4,000. So,
yeah,
begrudgingly going to go with Jordan Love here. one of our loyal listeners who we're both buddies with, who dabbles far more in the modern market than I do, told me he thought Jordan Love already had starter baked in to his market. So we will see.
It's possible. It's probably that is what's interesting. He's had a following for years with the anticipation of Aaron Rodgers eventually leaving. So, yeah, I think his stuff is a little inflated right now. But then again, if he can perform, I mean, we're talking about a whole nother ball game.
And I don't even want him to perform. I just want the hype. Buy in April. He's the quarterback. We get the hype machine going. We get the casuals entering the market, and we're dumping in September. That's the vibe.
I love it.
In and out.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's time, folks. That's right. We're going to discuss undervalued and overvalued cards, or maybe even some memorabilia assets, potentially some players. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on to these assets or players? We'll give you some opinions and back it up.
Speaking of the perfect time to buy or sell, this is a segment that everyone seems to love. We dive into some cards and players that we feel are undervalued or overvalued. I always let you take the reins and go first. Talk to us a little bit about your choice this week. Is it an undervalued card? Is it an overvalued card? Is it a player? Where are you taking us this week, Jesse?
So I've mentioned on this show a couple times that my favorite card on the planet is a 1980 Topps Bird Magic rookie. And that is my undervalued card this week. You know, I was doing a little bit more research on this card, and I'm just surprised that it's not worth more than it is. There's no other card, no other vintage card on the planet that you can get two Hall of Famers that were rivals on the same rookie card and throw in a third Hall of Famer in Dr. J on the card as well. So I love its significance. I love that it's, you know, a couple of monster brands in the Lakers and the Celtics on the card. You know, these cards, in the PSA 9, the 80 Topps Bird Magic rookie spiked at about $75K, which is kind of crazy to think about. But that was the record for that card back kind of during the spike during COVID. They're down to 13, 14, 15K depending on quality right now. So they've taken a huge pullback. But, you know, you look at these compared to, let's say, an 86 Fleer Jordan rookie. Now, I get it. It's Jordan, and I get it. It's a single guy. But you can argue that, you know, a single or a card with multiple people on it should be worth more than a single card, especially if you consider all the players that are on that card. But an 86 Fleer Jordan in a PSA 9, the value is actually fairly similar right now to where the Bird Magic is. But the supply in PSA grade is a pop 2,897 for a Jordan PSA 9. And it is only 620 for a Bird Magic 9. That's almost 5x supply. Once again, I get it. It's Jordan, and it's Bird Magic, but that feels like a bit too much of a delta for me. Now, because I imagine the supply of a Jordan is 620 of the 86 Fleer Jordan, then that card is 30, 40, 50 grand right now instead of 15-ish. And, you know, the way that I look at this, too, is with Bird and Magic, that is the only rookie card that exists. That's their only true rookie. There's no other rookie card that you can even point a finger at and go, oh, well, you could consider that a rookie as well. Because you look at Jordan, you got the 84 Star, you've got the 85 Nike. I mean, there's a slew of different cards from, you know, 84, 85, 86 that are Jordan rookies. You want a Bird Magic rookie, this is the only card that exists. And so that's why it's my undervalued card for this week.
I couldn't argue, and I think this is a pretty good observation. And I think even within that realm of PSA 9s, going out and finding one that has the PWCC eye appeal stamp of approval is maybe even a better direction, because I've seen a bunch of PSA 9s that have some print dots. I would venture to say if you had all 620 regraded today, maybe half of them would be 9s again. And
maybe.
Just further illustrates your point here with a rookie card that important, just not having a ton of copies out there that are available. And I think just overarching for more than a decade, I mean, Bird and Magic were the guys, and it was a rivalry that dated back to even college, and those two made the league interesting until Jordan was ready to take it over by beating the Showtime Lakers in 91. That was kind of the official passing of the torch, but for about 10 years, it was Bird and Magic, and this 1980 Topps card is a staple within the collectible basketball market that I think should find everyone's portfolio. Where I'm going is a guy that I think we've talked about before. People know my thoughts and opinions on this, but I am selling Zion Williamson. I'm off it. I think he's still overvalued. I understand the talent he is. He's an absolute freak. Zion is the player young kids and modern collectors are gravitating towards, wanting him to so badly be their Jordan, LeBron, or Kobe. But he's none of those guys, and he never will be. And I know the Zion market is down a touch. I know the Pelicans have already hit the skids, and if the Pelicans get healthy and make the playoffs, could Zion tick back up 10, 15, 20% if they make a tiny run? Sure. I'm just over the whole Zion thing, right? Like, he's out of shape. He cashed in on the Nike deal before he ever played a game. There's some information that I'm kind of privy to when we had the whole bubble basketball and why he ended up leaving the facility for 24 hours and then coming back in. Women weak in legs. We'll just leave it at that. And, he's a guy who plays above the rim, being overweight. Like, it's just, I don't think this is a guy that is someone that I want to be investing in. We've seen plenty of high flyers like Blake Griffin over the years, whose cards now sell for a really, really nice roll of 3-ply toilet paper. I'm just dumping Zion. I'm putting that money into vintage baseball before March and April. I'm dumping Zion. I'm using those funds for vintage football in April and May. This is difficult, right? It's not a hot take, and I could be wrong. I'm in the business. We're the very best in the world. Are wrong 45% of the time. It won't be the first or last time I'm wrong. But I just think when you look at what we're evaluating, right? Analytics, sure, fantastic. But there's just a little bit of instinct. There's a little bit of intuition that you need. And just you quickly realize over the years, the best positions to take, the best bets to make are typically the toughest ones to make. And Zion's tough to give up on. But I want to invest that money in something safer and remove all downside risk and worries. And I think maybe it's just because it's the type of collector I am. I think if you're in this market and it's your job, you're delegating 8 hours a day doing this for 7 days a week. I'm a guy who's probably doing 1 to 2 hours a day outside of the season. In football season, it's maybe 1 to 2 hours a week. So I want to be in safer assets that I don't have to watch on a nightly basis and figure out if Zion's playing well every single night or if he's going to get injured. I just don't want that and don't want to deal with that. So I'm selling Zion. I think he's still overvalued, and I think there's a case where if you zoom out and we look back in 7 years from now, he's going to be closer to Blake Griffin than he is Michael Jordan.
Trading cards and memorabilia have seen incredible growth as an alternative investment. The company leading the growth? PWCC Marketplace. PWCC Marketplace runs the largest weekly auction of authenticated sports cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, video games, and memorabilia in the world. PWCC Marketplace also has more than 65,000 items listed in their fixed price marketplace that you can make an offer on right now. Head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see why they're the best option for buying and selling trading cards, memorabilia, and all of your collectibles.
Yeah, look, I want to disagree with you, but I can't. I agree that right now Zion is overvalued. He has missed more games than he's played so far in his career. And look, I find him as must-see TV. I love, out of all the players in the NBA, he is top 5 when he's healthy that I turn on the TV to watch play. So he has that going for him, and that is probably the only thing and the hope, right, that is keeping his card values alive.
Yeah.
But you look at a guy like Joel Embiid, who, he's turned into an unbelievable player, but he only played 94 games his first 4 seasons. 94 games. Now, he does not play above the rim like Zion does. So once they figured out his foot injuries and got that healed up and that was all kosher, the risk of re-injury for Embiid is going to be much less than it will continue to be for Zion. But Zion's on pace to play only 140 games through his first 4 seasons.
Yep.
That's terrible. I mean, that is just a bag of injury that has happened, and the way he plays is waiting to happen. So it's really hard for me to sit here and defend Zion as much as I absolutely do love watching the guy play when he's healthy. I cannot defend his card prices. They are too high for a guy who hasn't done anything yet. Now, his numbers when he's on the court, don't get me wrong.
Fantastic.
And his team's numbers, they're fantastic. But you got to stay on the court for that to matter. And that hasn't happened. And purely based on health and risk, I completely agree that he's overvalued.
You mentioned Joel Embiid, and I think that's a great reference point, a great correlation. Now, I understand big men are not relatable. We all can't dunk without jumping. So we see that syndrome take place with Shaquille O'Neal and some of his prices. But literally, a PSA 9 orange Prism rookie die cut to 139 copies of Joel Embiid's rookie sold for like $190 the other day. It's absolutely unbelievable, and he's being discussed for potentially an MVP this year.
For MVP,
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
Again, I don't know what Zion's motivations are. If I were 22 and signed a $231 million contract with the Pelicans and another $50 million with Nike before I needed to do anything, what kind of life am I living? I don't know. I don't know the dedication I'm putting forth either. And you just see him sign that extension and the smile on his face. It's like, you just robbed a bank.
I know. Well, look, part of it too is he doesn't have, from what I see, what the greats have. He doesn't have that edge. You don't get fat. I'm sorry, but you don't get fat like that if you have an edge. It doesn't happen. You won't let yourself get to that point.
He's not even Italian.
You get that way. You get that. You get that way because you are battling internal demons. That's what it is.
Yep.
You think if Kobe got injured, LeBron got injured, Jordan, Bird, Magic, any of these guys are going to get fat like that? Hell no.
I know
they will do whatever they can to make sure that doesn't happen. And the fact that he got fat like that and it took a damn near intervention to get him back into shape, he's going to be a project for the rest of his career, it feels like. And that is the biggest factor for him getting injured, is that those knees, with how explosive he is, they're going to have trouble holding up a 300-pound frame.
His body type is vastly different than Michael Jordan, but he's the same height, 6'6". And he ballooned over 300 pounds, to your point, during that intervention. I believe what they're saying now, he's playing at like 275. But that is my overvalued commodity.
He's a guy that when he retires too, watch out. He could be as big as Vince Wilfork when he played. I'm serious.
So he's going the Charles Barkley route, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he definitely could. But Charles didn't get fat either when he played. That was way post-career.
Pick a number, any number, whatever it may be. We got a number inside, but we want a magic number. All right, this is where we're going to pick a few big cards that enter in an auction over the next couple of days, and we're going to try and guess how much they sell for in advance. Throw out a number. We got one too.
We talked a little bit about Zion's number when he steps on the scale. This is a little bit different. We're going to be talking about 3 cards and giving you the magic number. Widely loved segment within the episode, within the show here, rather. And I see the cards that you presented. You're pulling out all the stops to get back in this race. Lots of cards with variants.
I need to.
Lots of non-traditional cards. I took it easy on you one week. I'm going back thinking in my mind it was the Steve Young USFL rookie card.
Oh, here we go.
I said to myself, this card is going to sell for $8,400, but I'm going to adjust down and go to like $8,250. Sure enough, bullseye, it lands on $8,400. Somehow you get a winner out of that because I was nice. And then the following week, you went $1 over me. You pulled the Price is Right move. 3 cards this week.
What are you getting at? What are you getting at here? You tell me you're swinging for the fences this week. You're not holding any punches. What's going on?
No. I do not feel comfortable with any of these 3 cards. I was looking at these, and you threw in a magic card, which is your speed. I don't even want to talk about the middle cards you gave us. It's that embarrassing.
Exactly.
And what I am going to do, though, okay, because I think you anticipated something. But as the host here, I can manipulate and maneuver. And the first card we're going to talk about here is the 2020 National Treasures Jalen Hurts BGS 910 rookie card. This is, to me, one of the largest variance cards we've discussed because
It is.
the auction ends on Super Bowl evening. So if the Eagles...
After the game.
Yes, after the game. So if the Eagles win, this goes for more. If the Chiefs win, it sells for less, and you might have some issues getting paid. I think there's also
that's a possibility.
5%
All Hurts cards,
of the copies in total population ending on the same day, including a better PSA 9 example. The very first card of the variance cards that we're going to talk about here is this card. It's 4-color patch. It's beautiful, which creates a slight premium. I'm going to go first. I'm going to change this up. The last BGS 910 4-color patch did about 16.8. That was 3 weeks ago. Sometimes in these markets, the hype gets built in. And even if he goes out and wins the Super Bowl, maybe you see a slight uptick. My instinct says with 4 selling... You change the bidding rules, too, which I do like, but I don't know if I like here. So guys that didn't put in the initial bid are going to be able to jump.
Yep.
Jesus. Yeah, you're all in my head. You didn't get in my head. I got myself in my head. I'm actually going to come in. Yeah, as soon as you sent this over, I was like, I see what he did here. I'm going to come in lower than the last comp just because there's 4 selling. There is a better copy with the PSA 9 that also is a 4-color patch. And I'm going to have a slight lean towards the Chiefs in that game. Okay? I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say 14-4.
Okay. So, yes, I did plan this accordingly because larger variances make it more fun for the listeners as well. If we say that something sold for 5,000 last week, it's much easier for us to predict the sale price. So I like variables. It makes it more interesting. Like I said, I got the Chiefs winning this game. So that factors into my account. This is a very nice patch. It's a 4-color patch like you mentioned, but it's also got, even in the heavy green portion of it, it's got some cool stitching. So I really do like this patch in this card. The autograph is perfect. I'm actually lower than you on this card.
What is going on here? Something's going on.
I think with the number of examples that are on the market, the fact that I believe, and this is more me betting on the Chiefs winning the game, because if the Eagles win, you'll be right, I'll be wrong. But if the Eagles lose, I have a higher percentage to be right, I believe, because of the quantity of supply that's on the market. I have this card doing 11-3.
See, this makes me feel like I'm out of the loop here, that there's a piece of information that I am just not privy to.
I just shared it.
Well, I mean, that's what you gave. You gave the forward-facing information, right? Did one of your guys message you? Did you recently sell one privately that I'm not aware of?
I wouldn't hold that from you.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out. 16-8 was the last comp. Man, you're going to 11. That is wild. Okay. The next card, and I can't believe I'm going to talk about this. I actually had to spend more time digging into this card than any card ever before just so I could actually talk about it with a clue.
Yeah, you did.
1985, Topps, Garbage Pail Kids, Atom Bomb Sticker Checklist, PSA 10. Talk to us a little bit about this card. Give us your evaluation. Where is this going to come in at?
You know this card.
You're older than I am. So.
Barely. I'm not that much older than you are. You know this card. You've heard of Garbage Pail Kids. They're from the 80s.
I've heard of it, yes.
What year were you born?
We don't really discuss those things.
Were you born in the 80s?
I'm always 28. When anyone asks my age, I'm 28.
Okay. 28 years old.
I use good eye cream. You ask me in 5 years, I'm going to be 28 then as well. Very good eye cream.
Okay.
Spend about $100 a month in facial products.
Okay. Good to know. Now I know what to get you for a gift.
You're married. You don't have to worry about these things.
Both products. It's true.
I'm still playing the game.
So look, this is the chase card, really, the guy to go after from 85 Garbage Pail Kids. Very popular set, very collectible in our space. This card is only a pop 29. There's quite a bit of supply of these. There have been 800, about 900 cards that have been graded for this checklist variation of Atom Bomb, card 8A. There's a glossy variation that's worth more. This is the regular variation. But this card has not sold in almost a year. So there's quite a bit of pent-up demand for this card. That being said, the PSA 9 pop is about 142, and there have been 9s that have sold since the last PSA 10. And the 9s are down roughly 25% for what I could see from real sales. The last comp on this card, when it did sell about a year ago, was in the $7,500 range. And so using the 9s, even though there's pent-up demand for a 10, using the 9s as a barometer for the where the market sits on this, I've got this card at $5,437. I think it's going to be a little bit shy of where we think it's going to could end up.
That's actually very interesting. You mentioned there are 29 copies that PSA is deemed worthy of gem mint status. I'll be candid. This was a little bit before my time. I didn't grow up on Garbage Pail Kids. I have no interest in it. But my understanding is, after speaking with Paul, who I introduced you to, he's a collector that's got some very eclectic taste. He compares the Atom Bomb Series 1 in a lesser extent to something like a Charizard or Black Lotus. And the product was super controversial at the time because it made fun of overweight kids with pimples, and you had some wild artwork, and parents and teachers would take these stickers and cards away if you had them. So Series 1 is collectible. It's iconic. That's what you have here because this is the best card, I believe, of the batch. Now, there's a bunch of these. You mentioned 8A. That is the far more desirable. Within that, it has 4 variations, right? You have the matte finish, you have the checklist matte finish, you have the glossy, and then you have the checklist glossy. And then you have 4 more variations with the Blasted Billy, which is 8B. So it seems like, to your point, the production's larger than I initially thought it would be. If you want to go back down memory lane or be nostalgic, you can buy a regular ungraded copy for $135. So it feels very much like the grade makes this card, to your point. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put you on the spot because I found a comp at your spot that sold for $14,400 in late October. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if...
It might not be the checklist variation. You might be looking at it.
I thought it was the checklist, but I am actually not...
Or glossy. Maybe you're looking at glossy.
Okay,
yeah,
I probably borked that, but
This is exactly why I did it.
Yeah,
right?
you threw me into deep waters. I mean, there's a PMG Ken Griffey up in Premiere. We couldn't talk about that. We had to go into the Atom.
No, that's too obvious.
Right, yeah, as long as the listeners know the fix is in, it's okay.
You'd run circles around me on a Ken Griffey insert. Come on.
Okay, so let's. I'm an idiot, and somehow you got me coming in above you on this one. I'm going to come in at 5.7. So 5,700 on this one is where I'm going to value
number.
this. I got to tell you, I thought you were going much higher.
I was being conservative.
Okay.
And usually when I'm not conservative, I lose. So I think that you coming in just slightly above me, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. There is a copy that's just sat, it appears, for a couple months. That was just the sticker, not the checklist, for like $10,900 on eBay, and it just sat there. So it's clearly not worth that. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm actually going to have to monitor this. Typically, I have people who let me know if I've won or lost, but I'm actually going to track this one. I've gone to the PWCC Marketplace website. I've got it favorited, so I'm going to be able to track and follow this one.
There you go.
The next one, of course, a Magic Johnson, your favorite player.
Let's go.
Continuing the tradition of fixing this one.
I have to make up for the hole I'm in, okay? I gotta pad this thing as much as I can.
It's 2004 Exquisite limited logos Magic Johnson, an 8.5 with a 10 autograph, 3-color patch. Part of the nameplate appears. Yellow is within this, and I think that creates a slight premium for Lakers collectibles if you get a yellow part of the jersey from all of the Lakers collectors that I talk to. Beautiful, bold, blue ink auto. Very few are going to agree with me. I actually prefer the design of the 04 limited logos over the 03 edition. I just know no one else really does, and because 03 has LeBron and Jordan, it's never going to reach that status. But I prefer the look of this one a little bit better. Would you like me to start, or do you want honors on this one? I will give you the choice.
You're giving me the choice. Look, I'll go first.
Okay.
I padded this week a little bit. I'll go first. So this card
Well, you can only go first if you're going to go higher than me. I'm kidding.
TBD. TBD. Yeah, the nameplate patch on this is really incredible. And as a Laker fan, a Laker collector of cards, the more yellow you get in there, like the brighter it is, the better it is. So this has the perfect patch window to have a lot of yellow, but also, part of the nameplate. And it's a very attractive patch. Probably the best patch I've ever seen from this 04 exquisite for a Magic Johnson card. And I've seen quite a few of these. Auto is 100% 10, perfect. This card's graded an 8.5. It's 0.5 away from a BGS 9. Not a huge uptick in price for an arbitrage play, but people do like BGS 9s, obviously more than 8.5s. I don't think it really has the ability to bump because I think it is graded accurately. I think that the edges and the corners are probably 8.5 caliber. This is a card that one did sell fairly recently with a different patch, but also a nice patch. I do like this one more. With that in mind, the fact that, this is out of 50, I've got this card at $5,435.
Interesting. I'm actually going to come in a little bit under you here. The last comp that I saw, to your point, came in December for a shade more than 5K. Magic's market is down about 15% over the last 3 months. I'm going to come in. I'll be nice. I was going to have a low 5 in front, but I'll create a little bit of a gap here. I'm going to come in at $4,996 on this one.
Oh God, you really adjusted that one.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to be at $5,050, but let's play it in the fours,
Okay.
create a little bit of a gap. I'll be the nice guy again. It's going to end for like $5,050. I would have got the Bulls.
I'm banking on the patch on this one. I think the patch is going to draw the premium, and that's where we'll get a better comp than last time. Even though his market is down a little bit, this is a nameplate patch, and it's fantastic.
You're not allowed to bid on this, by the way.
Yeah, I can't bid in our auction, so no, I can't bid on it.
Damn, that's a ghost. We're going to highlight a card that hasn't sold in more than a year right now, or is serial numbered to less than 100 copies produced. We're going to talk about why this card is significant, maybe in terms of hobbies or language or just the overall rarity of it all, and why it's considered a ghost.
This is where you totally redeemed yourself, and you have no idea why.
Okay.
We're going to a ghost here. The 1978 Eddie Murray rookie in a PSA 10. I'm going to let you talk about this card, discuss a little bit of its importance, the player in and of itself, and I believe this is coming to auction very soon.
Yes, this card itself is actually live right now. So it's in our weekly auction that ends this Sunday. It's part of a 1978 top set break that we're doing, a complete set. This is a really, really cool card. And for those that don't know the 78 top set, it's very difficult to find cards in PSA 10 condition because of the print and the centering. And this Eddie Murray rookie is only a pop 18. So there's only 18 of these that exist. And the card right now is sitting at 20 before the buyer's premium is at $23,000. It hasn't sold in over a year. And typically you'd maybe see one of these sell every other year. Maybe you catch a back-to-back year, but the fact there's only 18 of them, you just don't see it sell very often. And a lot of these get stuck in sets like this, where set collectors buy it. They want to get their GPA up for their set on the PSA set registry, and so these things never leave the sets. And a lot of time, your opportunity to buy an asset like this is indeed when someone sells an entire set or breaks it up. And that's the opportunity that's presenting itself right now. So, this is, like I said, it's a Pop 18. There's 669 PSA 9s. So that gives you any indication on, the difficulty to get a PSA 10. There you go. It's a huge card, and I just thought it was a good fit for It's a Ghost, considering that there's only 18 that exist, and you just don't see them sell that often.
It's a good fit because this Eddie Murray rookie is one of my favorite cards because it was my introduction to vintage baseball as a kid.
Was it really?
Yeah. My uncle collected cards. Took me to my first card show ever. He must have had 50 raw copies of this Eddie Murray rookie. And so I immediately gravitated towards it. You have the action photo with great photography, the classic Topps Rookie Cup insignia, and I just don't think Eddie Murray gets the respect he deserves when you think about him being one of 7 players in baseball history with 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. Miguel Cabrera, the most recent inclusion to that list. I think the Orioles brand is one of the worst in baseball. And then to your point, 1978 Topps, the set was absolutely massive. It was one of the larger top sets of all time. And there weren't a ton of great rookies in the class, so maybe that hinders the value of this Murray. But for me, one of the more iconic vintage baseball rookie cards of the entire 1970s decade. I'm probably a little partial because of what it means to me, but I just think this is an absolutely great card. I was shocked to see it on the list.
Good.
Yeah, this was
we did not plan that.
No.
That's awesome.
No, we did not plan that at
all. Love it. Yeah, it's a great card. Like I said, this the complete set break is on the weekly auction now. It'll close this coming Sunday, and the Trammell rookie in this is also the other kind of chase card out of the.
Does that have multiple people
set
on it? Is that another one of those with like 4 guys on it?
Yeah, it does. It's got 4. Yeah, it's a 4-person card. So just a kind of different. Damn, that's a ghost than we normally have, but I thought one that was very fitting.
So we doing this or are we doing that? You tell me and we'll tell you. We're going to compare 2 cards right now with similar value that are completely different. Let me give you an example. Let's just say for argument's sake, you have a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card worth $30,000. But you also have a modern-day Joe Burrow rookie card worth $30,000. Which one would you rather have, and why? You tell us. We're going to tell you right now.
Another segment that we have a lot of fun doing, and typically we don't agree on this, and this is this or that. And the comp this week is very interesting because typically you've picked cards from different sports, different eras. This certainly a different era, but 2 huge quarterbacks that have really helped the game of football tremendously. The 2 cards we're comparing this week is the 1957 Topps Johnny Unitas rookie versus the 2000 Bowman Tom Brady rookie. Talk to us a little bit about both cards, their importance, and if you had to spend the money, which you'd rather have, Jesse.
Yeah, I thought that it'd be kind of fun to do a little bit of a quarterback battle on Super Bowl week. So we went with the 57 Topps Johnny Unitas rookie and a PSA 7 that is a PWCC A sticker, so the top 30 percentile. This card and the Brady both sold a week ago for exactly $3,240 a piece. This Unitas is a pop 570 in a PSA 7. So the supply's out there. You can find this card in a PSA 7. That's not going to be crazy hard. The difficult thing is finding it in this kind of condition.
Yep.
This card is notorious, again, like a lot of these vintage cards that we talk about, the centering and the print are typically the 2 things that, when you have high desirable cards that are the problem. You got 58 Topps, Jim Brown with print issues. We just talked about the Eddie Murray. You got this Unitas. Print on a lot of these cards is a problem from back in the day, and this 57 Topps is the same issue we have here. So I love this card. There's only about 200 graded higher. There's 198s. There's only 8 9s and 0 10s. But I would bet you that this PSA 7 would stack up against at least half of those 190 PSA 8s. It's that nice. There's just a beautiful centering to this card. the print. I mean, the print looks like on a scale of 1 to 10. The print's a 9. I mean, there's a little snow in Unitas's hair and maybe a print dot here or there, but it is a beautiful, beautiful card. The 2000 Bowman Tom Brady in a Beckett 9.5. We can talk about his Bowman Chrome Refractor and the different variations of this card, but you look at this card in what we call a min gem. So this is a base 9.5. It's got 3 9.5s and a 9 subgrade. It is the GOAT. There's no mistaking that 7 Super Bowls, playing in 10, that Tom Brady is the GOAT. There are, ironically, because this is a base issue, there's 577 Beckett 9.5s that exist. Now remember, there's 570 PSA 7s of the Unitas that exist. So this card being a min gem does mean, though, that there are nicer, allegedly nicer 9.5 copies. I think this card is accurately graded. There's one little corner that's got a little white to it. So I think a min gem is correct. I believe there was only 3 BGS 10s of this card. So it is a condition-sensitive card to get to the next level, to get it pristine. It's very, very, very difficult. Now, when I'm looking at these two cards and I have to make the decision, I do believe it's going to be much more difficult to find a really nice 57 Topps Unitas, even though Brady's the GOAT. So I'm going to have to go with the 57 Topps Unitas.
Man, I'm really surprised we're sharing a brain here. And to your point, Tom Brady's the GOAT. But there's a couple things that make this really an easy choice for me, and it's that Tom Brady has more than 40 base rookies. If you include inserts, that number eclipses more than 135 rookie cards. And even within this 2000 Bowman product, Brady has 5 different variations, right? This paper version, which is the least expensive of the bunch. You have the chrome version, you have the chrome refractor, you have a gold version serial numbered to 99 copies, and then the gold stamped Rookie of the Year promotion, which was an exchange. There's only one Johnny Unitas rookie, and it's this 1957 Topps. I actually own both cards, and if I were forced to sell one, it's the Brady for sure, especially this specific example where the Unitas, which can be victim to centering issues, is extremely well centered. I don't think this is all that difficult of an argument either. And I was putzing around the internet and found some articles, and back in 2019, Beckett actually did an article where they released their top 100 football cards of all time for the NFL's 100th year anniversary. This Unitas falls number 3 overall on the football importance list.
Oh, really?
Yes. The chrome version of the Bowman Brady, 51st. I think it's fair to probably bump that, right? Because he's been really good since 2019, won another Super Bowl. But it's never snipping the top 10, and so I'm with you on this one. I thought you were going to go Brady, GOAT, new school, because you are the modern guy, and I was just going to be sitting alone with my Johnny Unitas rookie. But I wholeheartedly agree with you here, especially with the example that you provided, which is really well-centered and the color's vibrant as well.
Yeah, look, we typically side on vintage when we have to do this or that. And I guess this is no different. It is just steady Eddie. And, when you do look, you had a fantastic point when you look at all the different rookie cards that Brady has and all the inserts. I mean, I used a much lesser extent to that earlier in the conversation when talking about the Bird Magic rookie being undervalued, because that is the only rookie card that you can get of those two players. And so it is true. A supply and demand factor, not really surprising when you look at it like that we both picked Unitas.
Not a surprise at all. Before we clear out, before we figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl, talk to us a little bit about anything going on in your life or at PWCC. The floor is yours, kind sir.
Oh, in my life, where do I start? You really opened the floor there.
As we're recording, you've had 37 PWCC members ping you.
No, that is definitely more than that. So, look, with our company, we've unlocked extended bidding. We talked about it last podcast. Talk about it again. You don't have to bid on an item before extended bidding to be able to bid on something during extended bidding, which is fantastic. It's called All Access. Get in there, place a bid. just make sure you get in there before an item closes, because then you definitely don't have an opportunity. Outside of that, the Super Bowl, super fun time. We're going to an event. There'll be lots of live betting going on with squares and all that kind of junk. But really, really looking forward to a fun Sunday here coming up.
Should be a great game. And as always, if you guys want to check out PWCC, go to pwccmarketplace.com. The link is always in the podcast description. I know a lot of people have emailed and messaged and said they've signed up and are now bidding over there. Even if you want to just look at the cards that we talk about, sign up. All you have to do is enter your email address. It's pretty simple. You can search cards and see some of the great cards that we're talking about here. So until next time, episode 14, next Monday. By that point, we'll have a Super Bowl champion. We'll see if your pick was right from last week. And hopefully,
Go Chiefs!
Fingers crossed, Patrick Mahomes has another Super Bowl.
Make sure you follow Payne on Twitter at Payne Insider. Subscribe to Bet the Board and get notified when new episodes of CardBoard Chat air on Tuesdays. And be sure to stop by pwccmarketplace.com for all your collecting needs.